As a homeschool mom, you have a lot of different hats you have to wear, and one of them is quite often the hairnet of homeschool lunch lady. So today's video is about meal planning and what that looks like in our homeschool and getting food on the table for everybody. Huge shout out and thank you to Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from the Waldock Way for putting together this playlist. Be sure to take a look at the other videos. There's a ton of great info, resources, and inspiration there for you. If you're new here, my name is Megan. Welcome to My Line Homeschool, and let's get started.
Here you can see I'm working on my meal plan and just kind of writing out the dates for the week and that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to look pretty, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just needs to be some kind of a plan. And I always like to have my plan on paper, not just in my phone. I am very much a pen and paper kind of girl. Doing it in my phone just doesn't work. I know it works for some people, but it just doesn't work for me. So the big thing is just find what works for you. Now, I will say my mom was an excellent meal planner. I am still learning in this area. She would meal plan and shop for like a month at a time, and I am just not there. And so it's okay if it takes time to get used to it. Like I grew up around somebody who was incredible at it, and I'm still a work in progress for sure. With meal planning, one thing that I had to learn is that every meal plan is going to look different because every family looks different. So your schedule, your needs, how many people you have in your family, the food you like, it's always going to be different. So you can't just copy paste what somebody else has into your life, which is what I was always trying to do and always getting frustrated by. So I ended up having to change it and just kind of figure it out on my own. And it definitely was a slow start. Would say I started meal planning like 3 or 4 days at a time, or maybe like a week at a time. And now I am at the point where I meal plan for 2 weeks at a time. But much longer than that, I just struggle to stick with the meal plan. And so it or like my plans in the calendar have changed. And so it just isn't always going to work. So I find that 2 weeks is about my sweet spot. And as you can see here, I'm going through and I'm really just writing down one meal for each day. I don't plan every single meal. Breakfast, I try to keep really simple. My kids get a couple options for breakfast that they can choose from that I will make for them, whether it's cereal or some oatmeal or something like that. But we really just don't do a whole lot for breakfast every day. We're not a big breakfast family. Even myself, I usually stick to like a protein shake or something simple and quick. So I just, I'm not a big breakfast person. And so we just keep that as simple as we can. The main meal that we usually have every day is typically lunch. And so the reason why is because my husband works from home, so he's usually able to come out and join us for lunch. Some weeks or some days he's not, just because meetings and stuff, and he's busy, and that's okay. But most days he's able to come out and join us for lunch, which is really great. That tends to be our big meal because that's when I have more time. I can cook while I do homeschool or while the kids play and that kind of stuff makes it easier. Usually the evenings we have activities that we're at or we're running errands and that kind of thing. And so I need something quick and easy for dinner. So dinners are usually leftovers or like peanut butter and jelly and that kind of stuff. I when I make our lunch meals, I tend to make really big meals so I know there will be leftovers. And so, we'll eat Monday's leftovers on Tuesday night and Tuesday's leftovers on Wednesday night, that kind of thing. One thing that definitely makes meal planning a lot simpler for me is to have themed days of the week. Sundays, I usually have some kind of a salad. Mondays are usually some kind of Asian food. Tuesdays are usually leftover days because those are pretty busy days for us. On Wednesdays are typically Italian food. Thursdays are some kind of like sandwich or hamburger or panini or something like that. Fridays are Mexican food. I could probably do Mexican food more days of the week because that's our favorite, but I don't want to burn out on anything. And then Saturdays, right now in the wintertime, since it's cooler, are usually soup days. When you're doing your own meal plan, though, it's important to know what your goals are and kind of what you're going for with your meals, which I realize that sounds really silly to say, like, what are your goals? You're like, well, feed my family. But really, what I'm saying is, as maybe you need your meals to be quick and easy because you're a family that's on the go a lot. You don't consider yourself to be a great cook. And so you need something that's quick and simple, or maybe your kids are helping you cook a lot. And so you need something they can help with. And so maybe you need more pre prepared foods or more freezer meals, that kind of stuff. Okay, plan for that. Or maybe you're looking to keep your costs down and keep your budget low with your grocery bills. So maybe your food should have more fillers in it, like rice or potatoes or beans and that kind of thing, of good ways to help your family be full and be nourished, but not take up a ton of your budget, as opposed to like steaks every day or something. Or maybe you really want to cook a lot of stuff from scratch. Okay, you should know if you're going to cook a lot of stuff from scratch or do more things from scratch, it's going to take more of a time investment and more work on your part. So be aware of that as you're creating that meal plan. Maybe have some meals be more from scratch and some meals be more pre-prepared, kind of figure out what's going to work with your time, or maybe don't plan a from scratch meal on your super busiest day. When I do my grocery list, you'll see me put dates next to the items on the grocery list because I know when I'm gonna use that item, like it's for a specific meal on a specific day. And so for myself, just to not buy things I don't need or to that kind of thing, I find it easier to just do grocery shopping once a week and then meal plan for 2 weeks at a time. To keep my grocery list organized and to only have to make one list, I just put the dates on the items and then I can add to that list if I need to. Like you can see I'm putting the dates on it here, but then I've already added, like, I know we're getting low on milk and I need more olive oil and butter. Well, those aren't for specific days. Like, I'm just going to go get those tonight when I am going grocery shopping. And so that's why I date the grocery list, simply because it helps me stay organized when I'm in the store and not buy things I don't need and like risk them going bad before I'm ready to use them and that kind of thing. Definitely just take your time though. Figure out what's going to work for you. Be realistic. Start small. I mean, nothing is worse than you're like, I'm going to meal plan and I'm going to plan for the next 6 weeks and I'm going to spend hours and hours planning this whole thing out. And meanwhile, nothing is getting done at home. And we're going to have a new meal every other night of the week. And you're like completely burnt out within the first 48 hours. And you're so over it and you want to scrap the whole thing. Like, that's the worst. So start small, be realistic with what you're wanting to take on each day and what your abilities are and what your family's even going to like. Like, it would be really fun to say, "Oh, we could cook all these specific things," but I know my family probably wouldn't like them, so I shouldn't make those. One other tip I have is to figure out systems or programs that are around that can work for you in your hometown. One thing that has been really cool for us is I've been able to connect with a friend who she loves to keep chickens and loves to garden and that kind of thing. And she's really good at that. But she's super busy and doesn't have as much time to cook from scratch. So I trade her eggs and veggies for baked goods. I pick up eggs and veggies from her every other Monday and I take her baked goods, whether it's homemade sourdough bread or sourdough like cookies or bagels or biscuits or scones or that kind of stuff. So I let her decide what kind of baked goods she wants and make those for her. And then I also do baked goods for our family. So this week I was doing a homemade loaf of sandwich bread. So we have that on hand either as a snack for the kids or for peanut butter and jelly or that kind of thing. A homemade loaf of crusty sandwich or like sourdough bread for the soup that we're going to have on Saturday. And I'll just like wrap it up and freeze it because even though I'm baking it on Monday, it'll still be fine because I'll just freeze it till Saturday. I'm also making hamburger buns because we're gonna have hamburgers this week and sourdough crackers because I just need to use up some of the discard. And my kids love sourdough, so we'll do sourdough crackers as well. And so I use a bread machine to do a lot of my sourdough because it's just a time saver for me to do it in there. Like it mixes and kneads it for me. I still let it raise and proof elsewhere. If I'm doing a sandwich loaf or hamburger buns or anything that's going to require more than stretch and fold, like it's gonna be actual kneading and working in the dough. It's just so much faster for me to do it in the bread machine. And usually I'm trying to prep a lot of stuff and bake a lot of stuff at the same time. Another tip I have too that helps a lot as far as saving time and money both goes is to have kind of meal prep days set aside in your week. So on Sundays, that is my meal planning and grocery list making day. So those are the days that I when I either update the meal plan or make the meal plan, that kind of thing, update the grocery list or make the grocery list depending on which week it is. Mondays are usually my big baking day. That's when I do my breads that are I need for the week. That's when I do breads for my friend with the eggs. That's when I also will do any meal prep that I can that's like available. If I can do meal prep on a Monday, I'll do it on a Monday. Then I usually end up doing more meal prep stuff on Thursday night after the kids are in bed. So I will do a normal day on Thursday. And then once kids are in bed, I usually have gotten maybe like a box of produce from a local farmer's co op, that kind of thing. Or even if I didn't get a box of produce from them, I just want to get food prepped and ready for the weekend. So that way my meals are easier to do. So I'll pre chop the veggies or pre-portion out ingredients, that kind of stuff. So that way I can just like toss it in and go on the weekend itself. And you'll learn over time which ingredients you can prep ahead, which ones you can't. Sometimes when I get those like boxes of food from the farmers co-ops and that kind of stuff, they'll throw in something like, hey, here's a whole bag of russet potatoes. Well, I wasn't planning on using 10 pounds of russet potatoes this week, but I also don't want the food to go bad and I paid for it. I don't want to just waste it. So I'll take the time to like wash them and blanch them and cut them all up and then freeze them. So that way I have potatoes ready for mashed potatoes or roasted potatoes or potato soup or anything like that or hash browns, and they're ready to go. So sometimes it's purely just like doing meal prep or food prep to keep food waste from happening. Like I had said at the beginning of the video, a big part of your meal planning is what are your goals and your priorities. For me, my goals and priorities are cooking from scratch as much as I can. I'm not opposed to stopping at Costco and getting hot dogs and pizza on our way home from getting groceries and that kind of thing, but I try to cook as much from scratch as I can. So because of that, I know my meals are going to take more time. So I tend to try to make them more bang for my buck kind of a meals. So that's why I do really big meals. I can have leftovers. I do meal prep, that kind of thing, because then I'm not draining myself. I keep breakfast simple because I don't want it to be a super draining, I'm spending all day every day in the kitchen kind of a thing. Or maybe you're looking for a goal that's going to, or a meal plan that's going to support a specific kind of diet. Like for us, I try to do more of nature's carbs as opposed to a lot of processed carbs. And like the carbs that we have, I try to do as much from scratch, like this bread or that kind of thing. So I want it to be a meal plan that supports my health goals or is easily adaptable. So maybe it's chicken fried rice one day for the kids, but I just portion out some of the chicken and veggies and do it with riced cauliflower. And I have chicken fried cauliflower and they have chicken fried rice. So it's something that's like easily modifiable for me, but not necessarily that like my whole family has to be on the same meal plan that I'm on, if that makes sense. Another one of my big priorities is keeping costs down, keeping it cheap, not ruining our budget by buying filet mignon every day. So I try to make meals stretch. I try to figure out how to be the most cost effective. And a lot of that is from buying in bulk and prepping it out, or figuring out how to portion it out and freeze it, or cooking from scratch, making my own bread, figuring out how to barter for eggs and veggies, that kind of thing. Also, just a low food waste kitchen. I'm not like, I never throw away a single scrap of food. Like, yes, there's still food that goes into our trash can. Like, I'm not going to pretend like there's not. But I try to not waste the food that we've spent money on, because then it's like I'm just throwing money in the trash. So, my big thing is if I took the time to buy this, I'm going to find a way to cook it and not waste it, or at least like prep it and freeze it for a future meal so it's there and not just going into the trash can, because that is so frustrating to me that it's just a burning hole in your budget of I'm buying something that I need to buy and then life happened and I didn't get around to making that recipe and now we've thrown it in the trash and it's like, nope, nope, can't do that. Can't do that. That's not worth it. But anyway, I hope this video helped and you got some good tips and ideas. I hope you enjoyed watching me do my meal plan and work on some of my baking and stuff in the kitchen. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what some of your favorite meal planning tips are, and be sure to check out the rest of that playlist. There's a ton of great information and tips and ideas on there for you. I'm sure you'll get all kinds of good ideas for meals and your homeschooling and what that looks like. See you next week.